Welcome to PowerUp podcast, the podcast that seeks to empower and dismantle, giving us the power and confidence to question, deconstruct, rebuild, and expand in life. I'm your host, Amma Rouge, voiceover and multidisciplinary artist, well-being advocate, food and book geek with over 14 years of movement-centered experience.
I am your host, Mesma, artist, choreographer, yogi and coach with a passion for alchemy, creativity, transformation and workplace wellness.
We recognise that we can't dismantle and empower or be empowered without first learning ourselves, diving deeper to unlearn the harmful, restrictive and unprogressive. It's an ongoing practice and journey for us all, which is why we created this podcast.
Our show features guests doing the work to enlighten, deconstruct and power up in their own magical ways.
We're going to be having conversations around the power of healing, transformation, well-being and creativity, and how they feed our personal and collective evolution, how they help us power up.
The date of this recording is actually an eclipse and a full moon, and it feels so synchronous that we are here in the studio with Priscilla Macintosh. Welcome, Priscilla.
Hi, thanks for having me.
Thank you so much for coming on the show. So excited to have you.
Thanks, me too.
Priscilla Macintosh, pronouns she, her, is a slow living guide, creative producer, consultant, and business owner. She is what they call a slashy these days. She works in the art and culture sector as a creative producer, coach, and consultant from her company Studio Macintosh. She also helps freelancers and business owners on their own slow living journey. This is one of the reasons why she started Adjuma Tribe almost 2 years ago. With Adjuma Tribe, her slow living lifestyle platform, she focuses on inspiring, empowering, and motivating others on their slow living journey. From a holistic perspective through food, lifestyle, and mental health to achieve a more vital work life, manage stress, and improve overall health. Priscilla is currently putting this into practice through her blog, the online mindfulness training she offers, and the Slow Sunday Circles she hosts, and starting this summer with Vitality Coaching. In her spare time, she loves visiting art-related things, being creative, dancing, being in nature, eating delicious food, and doing absolutely nothing. So joyful.
Especially that last line. I'm like, yes, to self-proclaiming doing absolutely nothing.
And taking the shame out of doing absolutely nothing. I feel it's something we've really been taught, especially, in our younger years. I think there's a lot more coming out now about the benefit of being still, but it's such a journey to unlearn this belief that it's shameful to do nothing.
Yeah, absolutely. I think also to release guilt, the guilt of doing nothing. I think there's shame wrapped up in it. There's guilt wrapped up in it. There's this, need to always, this idea that we need to always be doing, right? And creating and producing and being doing humans doing. I read that recently, that we're human beings, but we're often human doings.
Absolutely.
And Priscilla, it's so lovely to finally be on like a live chat with you where I can see you, because I know Ella and yourself are already connected, but I've only known you through Instagram. So it's really, really lovely. By the way, side note, banging outfits. You always have the most banging outfits. Love your style. And so it's so nice to actually sit and have a chat with you today.
Yeah, same. Yeah.
And just listening to Ella read your bio out, I'm struck by how, as you said, as a slashy, you embody these multiple roles of creative producer, coach, consultant, and you run your business. And I'm really intrigued to find out how you embody those roles whilst also honouring your slow living journey, because they can feel like two things that are mutually exclusive. But I'd love to know, and I'm sure our listeners would as well, how actually you interweave all of that within a vacuum that honors your slow living journey.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, it's funny because I think I recently really figured out that it's mostly for the audience or something that I might have to use the term slashy because people might not see the connection. But I realized that both things that I do are really just the core of my being and the core of everything that I've ever done. So it might be a different industry what I do in the arts in comparisons to what I do more in let's say the wellness industry. But at the same time, in both situations, I was well, one of my goals was to share stories and to share inclusive stories and to give other people voices and to create beautiful things and to help people. Helping people is a big thing in both things. And I think it's visible in both the things that I do. So in a way, it's just a different maybe medium or something, or a different place to do it, but it's actually just the same. So looking at how do I do this while slow living, because it's just so normal for me to do both of these things, that it's just a different place where I do it. It doesn't feel as something extra. And of course, it is an extra thing to have a second company and to put in that time to help grow that company as well. But I'm also trying to do that a slow way, because I noticed that there are like several things I could do and several things I could jump on. But I already experienced what it was like to build Studio Macintosh is not my first company. It's actually my second company. So Adjuma Tribe is like the third then. So I already have this experience of doing this thing for the past almost 10 years or something, and I know what it cost me to try to jump on everything. So now I'm just doing it more mindfully and just trying to approach things a bit more slowly. And of course, I want to reach all these things, but um, it shouldn't be like, how to say that, it doesn't have to cost me like my health and things like that.
Yeah, absolutely. And I wonder, like, how much has your experience kind of shaped that journey, and how do you practice? Like, do you have any kind of how to do business in a slow way tips?
Yeah, so how I slowly got to this place is actually by learning it the hard way. And that is because
Like most of us.
yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. So I think it was about 7 years ago or something that I just wasn't feeling well, and I had all these weird symptoms. And then I was talking to one of my friends, who is a psychologist, and who's normally just my friend and just chats with me without sharing any of her professional opinions. And she suddenly said, like, "Hey, am I allowed to tell you something from my professional perspective?" And then I was like, "Okay, yeah, sure." And then she said, "It sounds like you have a burnout." So I wasn't realizing it at the moment. Of course, I had all these signs. Like now, in hindsight, I can see like, oh, that was not right, and that was not right. But at the moment, being in it, I just thought, oh, but I have my own business, and I just have to go. And why am I
Yeah.
softy? All these other people are doing it, and things like that. And when I realized that I was going through that, that's what really made me change my whole lifestyle, because I was then really thinking about, okay, I have these things that I want to achieve. I want to like change all these things at the moment, because it was more in the art industry. But how am I going to do this without hurting myself, without having it impact my health this much? And that's when I like slowly started to change some things and slowly started to learn even more. So I read a lot of things about health. Like recently, I also decided to do like the mindfulness training, to become a
Yes.
mindfulness trainer as well after that. I am now at the end of my vitality coaching. So I've been learning a lot even before that. And while learning these things, you learn how to notice these signs within yourself. You learn how to, how to say that, you learn how to schedule your days a bit more productive. Uh,
Mm.
and things like that. And I also just notice what helps me, because of course there are like just general things that I could maybe be sharing with people, like having your breaks, and make sure that when you've worked for a while that you take a break. And a break could be like going outside, go for a walk, go in nature, because that's the seeing the green is really good for your mind. There are like these general things like your food and whatever, but it's also very personal. It's also just because it's like it's not one size fits all in a way. So it's also very helpful for me to just recognize what I need and what helps me.
Mm. And have you found that, like, as you meditate more, things kind of fall into place? Like, how is your work-life balance? And do you find that actually you don't have to do as much work and the thing still gets done? For example, because this is one of the things I'm experiencing is actually I work probably half the amount of time that I used to, but I feel like I'm doing it much more effectively. And I feel like that's connected to kind of the space that I'm giving myself by meditating and by stopping and being still.
Yeah, I noticed that as well. And um, it also sometimes feels like a combination or something. And in a way, is it a combination? Because is productive working? Isn't that just mindful working? And isn't mindful working productive working?
Yes.
Mm,
Yes, I do notice that, and I do notice it in several ways. So for me, meditating and mindfulness really just helped me, like slowing down. It helped me deal with stress. It helped me accept the pace that I'm in a little bit more.
big
Um,
one.
yeah. That one especially is really, really a big one, because I was always like focused on the future. Where do I want to be in 5 years? Where do I want to be in 10 years? And I notice now that it's still
Mm.
possible, but in a more mindful way, it's still possible. So meditating is something for me that I will do quite often. And whenever I am in these like busy moments or something, so for example, if I would know, well, let's say next week I have this busy week with a lot of meetings. And so I know that I need to meditate daily. So it will be just
Mm,
something that I will do to prepare myself for this week. So in that way, it is a big part of me, but it's not just meditating. It's more things. It's also just, but it might also be like
Mm.
growing as a business owner or something, and having this, let's say, life shock or something about 7 years ago. It's also just thinking about, okay, how do I want to do my business? Like, how do I want to live? What do I find important in life? And
mm,
that I do love all these things that I do, and I find it super important. But to do these things, to be able to provide these things for other people or for both industries, I need to take care of myself first. Um,
absolutely.
yes, exactly. And doing that
Mm.
is partly for me meditating, but it's also partly just, having boundaries.
Yes.
And
Yeah.
and setting those boundaries also with my clients.
Yes.
And setting those boundaries in life and taking care of my overall health. So I could be like meditating every day, but if I don't eat well, I don't sleep well, I don't take care of my body in other ways, I don't move, then I could be meditating, but it wouldn't help me. So I think that it's this overall thing of taking care of myself. Yeah.
Not long before we started recording this, I sent an email out and received this out of office back, which I absolutely loved, which said something along the lines of out walking for a week or so. If it's an emergency, contact this person or this number. Life used to be much more fun. So I'm trying to scale things back and actually switch off when I'm switched off. I won't be reading your email at all until I'm back. Thanks. I was like, yes. I was like, I absolutely love that, because it was just, it was completely unapologetic. It was really honest, actually, and authentic. It was very human. And I feel like there's a lot more of that humanness coming to the fore, particularly after going through a worldwide pandemic and how that's shifted the way a lot of people feel. It's caused a lot of people to reflect on the way that they've been living their lives and to reflect on what their values are, like you were saying, for yourself as well, in terms of like, what are my values? How do I want to live my life? How does that tie in with the way I'm working and the work I'm doing? And I think you see it in so many little ways now. And that kind of out of office is just another way that people are really showing, actually, I need to take care of myself to be able to take care of what I care about and my business and other people and ultimately myself as well as the first and foremost, right?
Yeah, I love these things. I've also been experimenting with my out of office messages the last few years. So I recognize these things, these messages. And I was also just like, for example, saying, well, at the moment, I'm probably just laying on a beach somewhere. And so that means I will not be entering your email.
Yeah, brilliant.
Yeah. Before I was always like, oh yeah, I'm so flexible with my time. I can always do things. I have this like really small laptop, or I take my iPad and I can work wherever. But then I noticed that I was just always on. And being always on, I noticed that I didn't have these slow moments, and these slow moments in which I would just turn things off would often give me also the moment to be more creative, to think suddenly things would pop off.
Yeah, absolutely.
I really agree.
And those slow moments that allow those sparks of creativity to foster and bubble up, that also keeps us enjoying the creative process.
Yes.
And it doesn't become this, this thing where you're like, okay, I just need to get this done to move to the next thing and get that done to move to the next thing, and then you're not actually enjoying the deliciousness of creating. It just becomes a task-based practice. So I think those slow moments are really, really important for that as well.
So I would love to know, what does Adjuma Tribe mean?
It's a pepper. So my parents are from Suriname, which is in South America, next to Brazil. And it's a pepper from that region. And it's one of the world's hottest peppers.
Oh, I want to eat it. I really want to try it.
It's really good. Really good. And the whole idea behind it is it's a bit playful, but it comes from my lifestyle, like before my whole slow living journey, that I was, and it also comes from like this Dutch saying, which it translates a bit weird, but it's like having a pepper up your bum or something, which means that you're always on the go. Things and all.
I think we have an equivalent where we say like lighting a fire up your ass.
Yeah. I think it's similar. Yeah. So it comes from that, like me being like that all the time, but still me saying my life is still like a bit of a spicy life, because I still enjoy the city life. I still enjoy like going to art things, like going to theater. So I'm not one of these slow living people who lives in the countryside and just feeds the sheeps all day and things like that. I do this in the city environment, but still taking these slow moments. So that's why I got Adjuma Tribe.
Beautiful. I love
It's
it.
brilliant.
So good. And I think that there's something really powerful in that message of you can still, you can have it all. We're often taught this idea of like, you have to make a choice. If you want that, you need to move to this remote place and you have to give up your dreams but actually no, you can live in the city, you can be a creative, and you can be full up, rested, and lie around on your sofa and do nothing sometimes.
Exactly.
And Priscilla, you have vitality coaching beginning this summer, is that correct? Because I know you said you're finishing the end of your coaching. All Priscilla's contacts are in the show notes, of course, always. Are there any tips that you would like to kind of maybe pull out directly from your vitality coaching that you could leave our listeners with?
I will talk about or share knowledge about the right amount time of sleep and things like that. So sharing knowledge is a big part of it, but it's mostly just having these talks with people and giving people a safe space to be able to just share what they would like to share and help guide them through their goal. Yeah.
Beautiful.
But if it's like to say like one big tip, I would say maybe 2 tips, and that would be just really listen to yourself. Like maybe write down for yourself, like, okay, what do I need? What does my ideal workday looks like? When do I feel at my best? Like, what do I do in the morning? What do I do in the afternoon? What do I do in the evening? So you could just implement those things because those are probably the things that you need. And then at the same time, look at your health holistically. Don't look at your health like, oh, I'm not sick, so I'm good. But look at your health like, okay, am I eating the right things? Am I eating mostly natural things and not too much processed food? Am I sleeping enough? Is my quality of sleep good? Am I taking these mental health moments, for example, with mindfulness, but it could also be like dancing or whatever,
Yeah.
endorphins flowing? Am I working in a healthy way, or am I just like going from meeting to meeting and being stressed without releasing that stress? So I think it's that as a combination, but also just figuring out for yourself, like, how do I want to live, and just combine both.
Beautiful.
Thank you for listening. You can connect to us and our guests via the links in each episode's show notes. Before you go, we invite you to hit the subscribe button so you don't miss out on any of the goodness to come. And if you enjoyed today, perhaps tell a friend to tell a friend. We are always grateful for you, our listeners, for our fabulous guests, and to everyone who has contributed to and been a part of our journey here.
Our music is by Tomo Carter. Everything else is brought to you by us, the PowerUp Power Team.
I'm Mesma.
I am Amma Rouge. And we are PowerUp Podcast.